Can someone help? I'm getting spawn camped at the graveyard.
Where?
Duskwood Graveyard.
Oh, it's that guy again. He's been camping that spot for 6 hours. Nobody can get past him.
I tried to help someone earlier. He killed me too. Now we're both getting camped.
This is insane. I literally can't play the game. Dude, seriously? I'm like 20 levels below you. What's the point?
The point is watching you respawn over and over. It's hilarious.
You're literally stopping me from playing the game.
I know. That's what makes it fun.
Welcome back to MMO Madness Behind the Troll Mask. I'm Boss Mode, and today we're talking about spawn camping, the griefing tactic that crosses the line from trolling to genuine harassment. This is the grief that makes players quit games permanently. The tactic developers have been trying to fix for 25 years and still can't. Let's dive into why spawn camping is universally hated. Before we get into the horror stories, let's define spawn camping and talk about why it's considered one of the worst forms of griefing. Spawn camping, also called corpse camping or res killing, is when a player kills another player and then waits at their respawn point to kill them again immediately, again and again. The victim is trapped in a death loop. They can't fight back, they can't escape, can't play the game. In PvP games, when you die, you respawn at a graveyard, a spawn point, or your corpse. These locations are predictable. A spawn camper knows exactly where you will appear and is waiting there to kill you the second you load in. You don't even have time to react. What makes spawn camping different from other griefing is the denial of gameplay. If someone ganks you while you're questing, you die, you respawn, and then you move on. Annoying but temporary. Spawn camping removes your ability to do anything. You can't quest, you can't fight, you can't escape. Your only options are to log off or endure it. There are different flavors of spawn camping. There's the opportunistic camping, where someone kills you, sees you respawn, and decides to kill you again a few times for fun. This usually ends after a few deaths because the griefer gets bored. Then there's sustained camping, where someone commits to killing you over and over for an extended period, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, sometimes hours. They're not going anywhere. They've decided that preventing you from playing is their entertainment for the session. There's also area camping, where a high-level player group camps an entire leveling zone or quest hub. They're not targeting one person specifically. They're killing everyone who spawns in that area. This can make entire zones uninhabitable. And then there's targeted harassment camping. This is when someone camps you specifically, follows you if you change spawn points, and won't stop no matter what you do. This crosses into genuine harassment territory. The psychology of spawn camping is particularly dark. Most griefers require some interaction. You're fighting over resources, or you're competing in PvP or pulling trains. There's a game-related reason, however twisted. Spawn camping has no reason except to make someone else miserable. The spawn camper isn't gaining anything, no loot, no rewards, no advantage. They're just sitting at a spawn point waiting for you to respawn, killing you and waiting again. The activity itself is boring. The only entertainment is knowing they're ruining someone else's experience. And that's what makes it so toxic. It's pure power trip griefing. The spawn camper has all the power. They're a higher level, better geared, at full health, waiting for you to spawn at partial health and vulnerable. You have zero chance of fighting back. They're not looking for a fair fight. They're looking for complete domination. Some games have mechanics that make spawn camping easier or harder. Games with harsh death penalties make spawn camping more devastating. You're not just dying, you're losing experience, items, or currency with each death. Games with immunity periods after respawn make spawn camping harder. You get a few seconds of invincibility to escape. But no matter the mechanics, spawn camping exists in almost every MMO with PvP. Because as long as there are spawn points and player killing, there will be people who camp those spawn points. All right, let's get into the stories. These are spawn camping incidents that become infamous, the kind that made players quit games and servers lose population. This story comes from World of Warcraft, vanilla through Burning Crusade era. Stranglethorn Vale was a contested leveling zone, levels 30 through 45-ish. It was also a PvP nightmare. High-level players from both factions would camp popular quest areas, specifically the Nessingwary camp and the graveyard near Booty Bay. But there was one player on particular server. Angui took spawn camping to a new level. Angui was a max level rogue. He camped the Menethol Harbor boat dock, which was the main route for Alliance players getting into Stranglethorn. He didn't just kill people, he had it down to a science. He would wait at the boat dock. When players arrived via boat, he'd kill them. They'd respawn at a nearby graveyard. He'd wait at the graveyard and kill them again, and again, and again. Players would try to escape. They'd run different directions from the graveyard. Angui would stealth, follow them, and kill them when they thought they were safe. He had the entire area locked down. If you were Alliance and you took that boat, you were trapped. This went on for months. I'm telling you, months. Angui would camp that spot for 8 to 10 hours a day. He became the most hated player on the server. The Alliance created entire resistance operations to try to stop him. They'd bring in max level players to hunt him down. He'd kill them, vanish, and come back. Eventually, Angui became so infamous that he was featured in gaming articles and forums. Blizzard eventually implemented some changes to prevent this exact scenario. Longer immunity periods, guards that actually helped, better respawn options. But for a time, Angui made the entire leveling zone nearly unplayable for an entire faction. EVE Online has gate camping as a legitimate game mechanic. Stargates are choke points that everyone has to use to travel between systems. You can camp these gates and destroy anyone who comes through. But there was a particular alliance that took this to an extreme. They controlled a low security system that was the only viable route between two major regions. Any player wanting to travel between these regions had to go through this system. They set up a permanent gate camp, 24/7 coverage, rotating shifts of players. If you jumped through that gate, you died. No exceptions. They had scouts watching for incoming traffic. They had enough firepower to alpha strike any ship, and they had the logi support to keep themselves alive if anyone tried to fight back. This camp lasted for over a year. They destroyed tens of thousands of ships. The total ISK value of destruction was in the trillions. Players called it the meat grinder because anyone who went through got turned into scrap metal. The camp was technically legal. It's EVE, anything goes. But it had real consequences. Players avoided that region entirely. The market collapsed because trade routes were cut off. Corps moved their operations rather than deal with the camp. An entire region of the game became a no-go zone for most players. CCP, the developers, eventually changed the map to add alternative routes. They didn't ban the campers. This was emergent gameplay as far as they were concerned. But they acknowledged the camp was choking off too much of the game and gave players other options. This one is from a smaller PvP MMO that no longer exists. And this story is a part of why it no longer exists. The game had an open PvP system with full loot. When you died, other players could take everything you had. The starting zone technically had newbie protection, but it wore off after level 5, which took about an hour to reach. After that, you were fair game. A group of max level players decided to camp the newbie zone. They'd wait right outside the protection boundary. The second new players hit level 5 and lost protection, they'd get killed repeatedly. They'd lose all their starting gear, all their gold, everything. New players would respawn, have nothing, and immediately get killed again before they could do anything. Some spawn campers would even give new players items just to kill them again and take it back. It was a psychological torture. The game's population tanked. New player retention was basically zero. You'd create an account, play for an hour, hit level 5, get spawn camp until you had nothing, and then you'd just quit. Reviews on Steam and forums were full of game is unplayable. You get spawn camp the second you leave the starting area. The developers tried to fix it. They expanded the newbie zone protection. The campers just moved their camp to the new boundary. They added guards. The campers killed the guards. They created safe teleport points. The campers figured out where people would teleport and camp those. Eventually, the game shut down, not solely because of spawn camping, but it was a major contributor. The developers lost the war against their own toxic players and the game died. This story is from Guild Wars 2 and shows how spawn camping can cross into real harassment. A player, Sarah, made a forum post criticizing some changes to her class. Normal player feedback stuff. Another player took offense to this post. He found out what server Sarah played on, tracked down her character, and started camping her. Every time she went into World versus World, the PvP mode, he'd hunt her down and kill her over and over. But it got worse. He started following her in PvE zones that allowed PvP. He'd switch to his home instance boundaries to find her. He'd message her after every kill, taunting her. He made it his mission to make her game experience miserable. Sarah blocked him, tried to avoid WVW, transferred servers. He followed her to the new server. This went down for weeks. She reported him multiple times. The harassment was documented with screenshots. Eventually, ArenaNet banned him permanently, but the damage was done. Sarah's entire guild had watched her get harassed. Some members quit because they felt unsafe. Sarah herself took a break from the game for months. This is spawn camping as targeted harassment. It wasn't about PvP or competition. It was about one person deciding to make another person's life hell, and the game being the weapon. From Lineage 2, which has castle sieges and territory control during a major castle siege, the attacking side was losing badly. They couldn't break through the defenses, and they were about to lose the siege. So they changed tactics. Instead of trying to take the castle, They focused on spawn camping the defenders. They set up at every respawn point and just killed defenders as they respawned. The defenders couldn't regroup, couldn't mount a defense, couldn't do anything. The siege lasted 6 hours of attacking side just camping respawn points. They didn't win the siege, the castle didn't change hands, but they made it so miserable for the defenders that several large guilds on the defending side quit the alliance out of frustration. This wasn't about winning. It was about making the victory so painful for the defenders that it wasn't worth defending. It was psychological warfare through spawn camping. The aftermath was ugly. The defending alliance fractured. Some guilds accused leadership of not having a strategy to counter the spawn camping. Others blamed individual players for not being able to break through. The alliance collapsed within a month. One battle spawn camping strategy destroyed a year-old alliance. That's the power of making people unable to play the game. This is from a Korean MMO with harsh PvP rules. A max level player made a new character on a different server and leveled it up just high enough to enter the tutorial zone as a PvP enabled character. The tutorial zone was where brand new players level 1 through 10 learned the game. This player went in there and started spawn camping, killing level 1 characters as they respawned. Players who literally just created their character and were doing the first quest. He did this for days. New players would create characters, get killed instantly, and quit. The server's new player population dried up. No one wanted to start on that server because word spread that the tutorial zone was camp. The player became infamous. The community called him out on forums. Other high-level players tried to hunt him down, but he'd log off when they showed up and return when they left. He had no life commitments and infinite patience. Eventually, the developers implemented a hard level cap for that zone. You couldn't enter if you were above a level 15. But by then, the server's reputation was damaged. It became known as the dead server because it had no new players. One person spawn camping the tutorial zone effectively killed a server's ability to grow. That's not just griefing, that's sabotage. So what drives someone to spawn camp? What's the psychology behind sitting at a spawn point for hours just to kill the same person over and over? First, there's the power trip. Spawn camping gives you absolute power over another player. They can't fight back, they can't escape, they can't do anything. For people who feel powerless in real life or other parts of the game, this total domination is intoxicating. Second, there's the reaction. Spawn campers feed on frustration. They want you to rage, to beg them to stop, to get increasingly desperate. Your misery is their entertainment. The more upset you get, the more they enjoy it. Third, there's the efficiency of griefing. Why run around looking for victims when you can just wait at a spawn point and they'll come to you? Spawn camping is lazy griefing. You can sit there, semi-AFK, kill someone when they spawn, and go back to watching Netflix. Fourth, there's the revenge. Someone killed them once, or said something in chat, or just picked the wrong faction. Spawn camping is payback. It's disproportionate revenge where they make sure you regret whatever you did. Fifth, there's the faction warfare mentality. Red is dead. If you're the opposite faction, you're the enemy and deserve whatever you get. Spawn camping becomes justified as a part of the faction war. You're not griefing, you're doing your faction duty. And 6, there's the sociopathic element. Some people genuinely don't care about other players' experiences. They don't see spawn camping as harassment. They see it as using the game mechanics as intended. Your frustration doesn't register as something that matters. What's interesting is how spawn campers rationalize their behavior. They'll say, "It's PvP server, you signed up for this." Or they'll say, "Just log off if you don't like it." They'll also say, "I'm playing the game as designed." They need these rationalizations because deep down, most of them know spawn camping is excessive. But the rationalization lets them keep doing it without guilt. They've redefined harassment as legitimate gameplay. Spawn camping has existed since the first MMOs, and the developers have been trying to solve it for 25 years. Let's talk about the solutions they've tried and why most of them don't work. The first solution was immunity periods. When you respawn, you get several seconds of invincibility. This gives you time to escape before the camper can kill you again. World of Warcraft uses this. You get like 6 seconds of spirit form where you can't be attacked. Problem? Smart campers wait until your immunity expires, then they kill you. Or they follow you during the immunity and kill you the second it drops. It buys you time, but it doesn't solve the problem. Second solution, multiple spawn points. Instead of spawning at one graveyard, you can choose from several. This makes it harder for one person to camp all of them. Problem? Campers adapt. They bring friends to cover multiple spawn points, or they just camp the most common one and still grief most people. Third solution, teleport to safety. Some games let you teleport to a safe location after dying, skipping the spawn point entirely. Problem, this removes consequences from PvP death, which some games don't want. Also, it doesn't help if the camper follows you to the safe zone and camps you there. Fourth solution, diminishing returns. In some games, killing the same player repeatedly gives you less and less reward, less honor, less XP, eventually nothing. Problem? Spawn campers don't care about rewards. They're doing it for entertainment, not gains. Diminishing returns doesn't change their motivation. The fifth solution, NPC guards. Spawn points are protected by strong NPCs that attack players who engage in PvP nearby. Problem? High level players can kill the guards, or the guards are too weak to matter, or the camper positions themselves just outside guard range. The sixth solution, PvP flagging and opt-in systems. You can only be attacked if you've agreed to PvP. Problem? This removes open world PvP tension, which is a core feature some games want. It solves spawn camping by removing the PvP that makes spawn camping possible. The seventh solution, temporary debuffs. Games like WoW have resurrection sickness, where if you respawn at a graveyard far from your corpse, you take a debuff that makes you useless for 10 minutes. The real problem is this punishes the victim for the camper's behavior. You're being griefed, so the game makes your situation worse. The fundamental problem is that no technical solution is perfect. Spawn points are predictable by design. That's how you know where to go when you die. But that predictability is what enables camping. Any system that makes spawn points unpredictable also makes the game more confusing and frustrating for legitimate players. Developers are caught between wanting meaningful PvP and preventing harassment. Every solution that stops spawn camping either removes PvP consequences or creates other problems. It's a design puzzle that hasn't been solved in 25 years of MMO development. Let's talk about what spawn camping actually does to players and games, because this isn't just annoying, it has real consequences. First, there's the immediate frustration. You're trapped, you can't play, you're being repeatedly killed with no recourse. That's enraging. People throw controllers, punch desks, scream at their monitors. The emotional response is intense because you're completely helpless. Second, there's the loss of time. You paid for game time, whether through subscription or just the time you set aside to play. Spawn camping steals that time. You can't progress, can't do content, can't accomplish anything. Your gaming session is wasted. Third, there's the social humiliation. If your friends are online, they're watching you get camped. If you ask for help in zone chat, everyone knows you're being griefed. There's embarrassment in being the victim, especially if you can't fight back. Fourth, there's the erosion of enjoyment. Even after the spawn camping ends, the game feels different. You're paranoid about getting camped again. You avoid certain zones or activities. The fear of it happening again changes how you play. Fifth, there's the quitting. This is the big one. Spawn camping makes players quit games permanently. Not rage quit for an hour, they just quit forever. They uninstall, leave negative reviews, tell their friends not to play. One spawn camping incident can lose a customer permanently. And six, there's the ripple effect. When enough players get spawn camped and quit, zones become dead. Servers lose population and the game feels empty. Spawn camping doesn't just hurt individual victims, it damages the entire game's ecosystem. New players are especially vulnerable. If your first PvP experience is getting spawn camped for an hour, you're probably done. You didn't invest months or years yet, so walking away is easy. This is why tutorial zone camping is so devastating. It kills games by preventing new players' retention. The cost of spawn camping is measured in lost subscriptions, negative reputation, and destroyed communities. It's not just trolling, it's genuinely harmful to games. Spawn camping is one of the few forms of griefing that almost everyone agrees is over the line. Even people who defend ganking, train pulling, or other griefing tactics will admit spawn camping is way too much. Because it's not about competition or PvP, it's about denying someone the ability to play at all. If you spawn camp people, understand what you're actually doing. You're not playing the game, you're preventing someone else from playing. You're not skilled at PvP, you're killing helpless targets who can't fight back. And you're not just trolling, you're potentially driving someone away from the game they paid for. And if you're being spawn camped, know that it's not your fault. You're not bad at the game. You're not doing something wrong. Someone with more power is abusing that power to make you miserable. Report them. Get help if you can, and don't feel bad about logging off if you need to. Developers have been fighting spawn camping for decades and haven't solved it. Maybe they never will. Maybe as long as there are spawn points and player killing, there will be people who camp those points. But we can at least agree it's one of the worst things you can do in an MMO. Next week on MMO Madness Behind the Troll Mask, we're diving into the trial of the Jackal when guilds hold court. We're talking about in-game justice systems, player-run trials, and the kangaroo courts that decided who was guilty of guild crimes. You definitely don't want to miss it. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and support the podcast. Tell your guildmates, share it on Discord, and leave us a review. And if you've got a spawn camping story, if you're the victim or perpetrator, email us at podcast@mmomadness.com. Until then, avoid red zones, keep your escape routes clear, and remember, there's a special place in MMO hell for spawn campers. I'm Boss Mode, and thanks for listening.